Are you on the edge of your seat? Because we're about to sound off with Kevin Williams, covering today's latest trends in location-based entertainment. Brought to you by the LBX Collective, your community to connect, engage, and inspire. All right, everyone, let's buckle up.
All right. Well, welcome everybody to Sound Off with Kevin Williams. This is number 94 for October 14th. Kevin, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you doing, Brandon?
I'm doing very well. But as always, I am curious how you're going to change my mind this week.
Well, this is a tricky one. I've just come from some exhibitions and also some launches, and so this kind of has been ruminating in the back of my mind for the last couple of weeks. We are in the amusement sector seen as a legacy brand, though no one really would say that to our face. We are a brand that covers quite a considerable amount of interest. We also have a very strong historical or retro component, as well as quite a thrilling new component to the way that our technology is being deployed in the sector. Now, when I say legacy, some people's brains may go straight to the idea that when I mean legacy, it's out of date and I'm only talking about the retro. Really, when I say legacy, is that we are a powerful and long-serving historical operation that we're not maximizing to the most. I am seeing other companies utilizing the IP and our product image and making book out of it where we're not. And, you know, I will touch upon that a little bit later regarding one of the events I attended recently.
Yeah, you know, what's interesting here is that, you know, I've been reading a little bit more about this idea of, I mean, we've all had nostalgia for our time, but like this is really actually a big component of the economy now. Is this nostalgia-tainment almost, nostalgia where you're bringing people back into, this is what we're seeing is the large resurgence of the retro arcades right now, right? I mean, that's that concept of that nostalgia. You know, I just talked about on the LBX show during my News You Should Know segment about Retroescapes in Las Vegas, and you know, that whole thing where you can go back and experience the 80s and the 90s and the 70s even in a themed environment. And so this is absolutely something we should be embracing, this component of nostalgia. And yet at the same time, I think we can't forget to continue to lead people forward into what the future is, so that 20 years from now, people look back to what the new things they experienced, you know, during this time frame, during their childhood now, that they will have nostalgia for 20 years from now. We can't just only rely on the nostalgia from the 80s. And we would need to make sure we're building that we're almost like pre-inserting that nostalgia, the future nostalgia now too.
Legacy, the closest example I can give you is the automotive industry, where the automotive industry recognizes its history and even implies and imparts certain elements and features. You know, the Mustang has certain generic components that are repeated again and again, even in the more modern designs. The same thing is applicable to our industry, where we have a long legacy of recognition from our audience group. It's just now we need to apply it, not having to learn the lessons again and again and repeat developing the wheel, but also building on that nostalgia. And we're going to touch a little bit upon that Retroescape concept later on.
Yeah. By the way, I do enjoy the AI's approach to nostalgia. I don't know where you grabbed that image or if you created that.
Retroescape. That's one of their deck pictures, which made me laugh about how their AI agent had been having fun.
Yeah, it's a little bit rough around the edges, but that's all right. Yeah. All right. Well, coming up after the break, we will dive right into the economic trends. Power up your game floor with Arcades by Alan One. Whether it's perfectly pouring drinks in Dr. Pepper Soda Slam, grabbing official Butts on Things plushies, or defending cities from attack and missile command recharge, Alan One has something for every venue and arcade floor that will delight your guests. Each game is also enhanced with Major League Esports, a free app that tracks player top scores and brings guests back to your venue for more. Visit allen-one.com to learn more. That's allen-one.com. All right, well, let's dive right in.
So the economy we'll start with, and We have some reporting from Disney. So we talked about last sound off that our friends at Universal had reported seeing some issues. We've also talked about Las Vegas seeing some issues. Well, the cherry on the cake, as it were, our friends at Disney have not officially admitted, but the media services that have access to their numbers through various sources can reveal that attendance, especially during the September and the build up to October periods, has been, as some like to call it, a ghost town. I'm not going to go as far as that to say. It is off book. This is not what they expected. Especially as Disney was or is in the process of rising the price of their tickets and taking away certain price points on packages and deals. The free car parking is disappearing. Certain of the discounting on magic bands linked to hotel packages are going away. So it's kind of a double whammy, a perfect storm for Disney regarding their prices. While sources tell me that their cruise line business is doing great guns, the park side, especially Orlando and Anaheim, has been seeing some serious pain.
Yeah. I think everything in Orlando has certainly been hurting. I haven't been to Disneyland in a little bit since earlier this year, although I do hope to get out there in early December to just to be able to test the waters myself to see how things are. And obviously we're coming into what hopefully will be some good seasonality for not just Disney, but all other parks as well, as they take advantage of the Halloween and Thanksgiving seasons, then leading right into the holiday Christmas seasons.
Yeah, this is an important line in the sand. If you can't do it during the Halloween or the scare season, then you've got more problems than just a soft economy.
Mm-hmm.
One of those industries in the scare economy really is taking a pounding. Our friends in the Halloween industry, the costumes, merch, sweets, all of the paraphernalia that supports this. They've been impacted by the shipping situation, importers deciding to halt or to cancel container deliveries. They've been impacted also by inventory. They've worked their way through inventory that they had, and now they've got no capability no fat to resupply. And some of them have been increasing the prices quite considerably on the traditional acquisitions and purchase, kind of a vibration of what we're going to be seeing around Christmas, unless things seriously change, which I don't expect to see. I think these type of problems we're seeing for the Halloween boys is also going to affect the Winterval Brigade. And sadly, the other impact here is that those increased prices and those difficulties impacts the workforce, and some of the Halloween business industries have had to let go staff because of various issues.
Yeah, I am wondering if we're beginning to see, as we're seeing a similar impact to Halloween merchandise, Christmas merchandise, if we're seeing the same types of impact to redemption prizes and to crane prizes, if we're going to see an increase in those costs and therefore in a change in the economics for both redemption games and crane prices.
We will be. IALPA, we will be dealing with people suffering sticker shock on things that they've taken for granted. It is those things that they've taken for granted, their merch, their prize, their supports, and their spares, that are going to be impacted by the loss of the postal system, the impact of the trade war, and the tariffs. Again, I think we will have to take some time after IALPA to sort of break down the impacts directly impacting us, pardon the tautology. The issues are, we need to be mindful that this is a thing rather than just brush it under the carpet. Moving on and to the biz and our friends at Five Irons UAE. So this is the franchisee's operation that runs the UAE and Saudi Five Irons. These are the facilities that seem to have jumped the shark and pivoted more towards a entertainment mix as well as the golf simulation. They've received quite a large injection of financing from Powerhouse Capital in the territory, and they have decided that they're going to be rolling out a considerable number of the Five Iron facilities. You noticed I dropped the golf phrase from the end of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is really interesting where we've actually seen a franchisee who has received an infusion of capital versus the actual franchisor. And I think that's indicative of just the quality of, or at least what I would assume, the quality of operations that this group is running, their flagship in Dubai.
You don't get to see this cash unless you can show cold hard numbers. So they've got an ROI that's proven that the 2 facilities that they've opened up have generated bang. Moving on, and another franchise working with a franchisee. Our friends Chuck E. Cheese has partnered with a Turkish group, PNB, and they have decided that they're going to be rolling out in Turkey a flagship facility that will be opening in Istanbul in 2026, and that will lead, based upon the bank that they generate from this facility, they're looking at 20 locations within the Turkish diaspora alone, which is a mind-boggling number to consider, but it also tells us how much disposable income for entertainment applications are ripe within the Turkish market.
Yeah, and look, even if these majority of those locations are in Istanbul, Istanbul is a massive, sprawling city, and there's certainly more space than for more than just 3 Chuck E. Cheeses in that area. So they can't handle 20, but certainly can handle more than 3. So it'd be interesting to watch how these guys do, especially given the fact that they're going to cram 3 openings into 2026, and having never opened one in that area yet.
It's going to be a baptism of fire for the first facility, closely followed by 2 other facilities in 1 year is always a high order. But I also get the feeling that the CEC team are going to be working very closely with this franchisee to make sure they get it right. Also remember, of course, that Chuck E. Cheese has signed an agreement for the UK regarding their plans to roll out. That 20 or 30 number seems to be the safe number you claim when you do one of these kinds of franchisees deals. We're going to open up 20, when in reality we may only see 15 in the next 5 years. Moving on, and we've touched upon this in Open and Shut, but we can go into a little bit more detail now. Dave & Buster's with their franchisee in the Philippines, and we get a chance to see what I call is the next generation of the reinterpreting of the Dave & Buster's mix. So we had the original, we had then the change by the previous management, and now we get to see what a franchisee does with the team towards what the current generation of the new design of a Dave & Buster's facility. As you can see, it's a lot more brighter in some places, but in other places they've reverted more to the traditional entertainment layout. The midway hall layout, as well as the amusement layout, has stayed kind of the same, though now with more signage and more digital. Future of play, I'm sure they spent a long time with the marketing team on that one. The social bays that were so maligned previously have reappeared here. Now, again, we have to use a bag of salt here. How much of this is really the Philippines team cherry picking what they wanted to keep and what they felt was suitable for their audiences against what the Dave & Buster's team wanted to hoist upon them? Either way, I'm interested to see the billiards front and center. We touched upon that previously in another recent Dave & Buster's opening, that those social bays had been parachuted in with billiards rather than the alternate competitive socializing products that they had previously had. From the artist's impressions and the renderings, it's a bit of a muchness, but you can taste the difference, as it were.
Yeah, I mean, even just from the colors and the lighting and the layout, I mean, it definitely, whether or not this is where Dave & Buster's is going from their overarching branding for even their corporate locations here in the U.S., or if this is just, again, the tail wagging the dog in the Philippines market. I think that what is interesting to me is the fact that they went back to billiards. And this is where I was just like, is this a cultural differentiation where like, is billiards just a bigger deal in Philippines than potentially some of the other things they could have put in that space? I mean, they had darts, they had shuffleboard, they obviously had the arena that they could have put into this space, but they chose to go to pool and just standard pool tables too, not even anything that's augmented at all with additional gameplay. So I was just curious if we think that this is the direction that they're moving, or this is a cultural thing that's leading the charge.
I think this is cultural, to be blunt. I think the Philippines market cherry picked the bits that they wanted and asked for changes to the bits that they didn't like. How much of this will now encourage the redesign of the US facilities? Again, we will have to wait and see.
Yeah.
Moving on, and our friends at Genda, it's that time again. Genda Americas had a couple of announcements, and the latest shoe to drop was their partnership with Toys R Us. So the toy brands, the retailer gone showroom, the troubled toy brand has now started to roll out its new interpretations of its retail empire. They're going for a much more showroom, a much more try it out and play approach, the only way to survive in the internet purchase age. And with the real estate that they have available, they've done a deal to drop in the Kiddleton automated crane and prize system. I wouldn't also be surprised if there's some other amusement being parachuted into this space, but at the moment, front and center, it was the Kiddleton crane systems, and they're going into 2 facilities, and we will be hearing how these do and whether these then get rolled out across the rest of the Toys R Us redesigned empire.
Yeah, this really is a match made in heaven. I think even more so than when we talked about the announcement Kittleton was going to be installing into some Walmarts. So I think that you have this where, the Kittleton brand now is also getting more ubiquitous in the US market. I think that's really important too. So this is we want to, we're going to begin to see this brand more and more, especially as you get into Walmart's, Toys R Us, where kids are going, adults are going. I am interested. I would love to understand the economics behind this partnership and how they're doing revenue share, et cetera, because I would imagine that sometimes depending on the things you're getting, at the Kittleton machines could actually impact some retail sales. Yes. When people now, yes, is it bringing people in the door potentially? Is it helping to increase the overall per cap as, guests are spending more, or customers are spending more time and more money there, or is it actually impacting retail sales for them?
It's a dwell time thing.
Mm-hmm.
I get the feeling. So someone's got their sharp pencil out and done the calculations of increased dwell time against increased purchase, but you're very spot on that could a successful couple of games on the Kiddleton crane machine stop someone from purchasing something from the facility. And again, early days, we will see how well this relationship works, but I know that this isn't the only retailer that is now thinking about adding a retailtainment component to their mix. An unusual one here came out of the blue and sort of got our industry shaking in their boots and jumping up and down. I know that you've touched upon it in the LBX show. I'd just like to give my 2 cents for this announcement. For those that haven't heard, a brand new concept for Las Vegas, a back to the future kind of entertainment space called Retroescapes, which comprises about 5 areas that are dedicated, or gates that are dedicated to the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. We talked at the beginning here during my meme about the legacy and entertainment, especially from the 70s and 80s, plays a very big part in this. So we have, from the renderings, the AI renderings from this concept, a lot of pictures of Pac-Man and similar kinds of retro arcades. I would expect the 1950s and 60s areas to be heavy in pinball. But fundamentally, this is Las Vegas getting quite a large entertainment area. I think we can blame our friends at Area 15 for the real estate industry to feel that this is a going concern that they can parachute into the area. I've put a date of scheduled to open 2027. They didn't actually give an official date. There's been a lot of off-the-cuff interviews, and they kind of alluded to everything would be done and dusted by the end of 2027. I will hold my powder dry and say, put a pin in that. I'm not sure. What I would like to see is some real pictures of what they intend to put in there, rather than the attack of the AIs.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, it does beg the question: are these true concept images developed, with somebody, or are these pure AI? But either way, I think the concept of this like nostalgiatainment is real. And I think that this has potential to be successful if it actually does get off the ground. I think one of the things we've seen a lot, especially in the Vegas market, is things like this are announced and then you just don't hear about them again. So this would be very interesting. I would love to understand what they plan to have in each one of these destinations. Or are you just walking around and experiencing it? Or are you doing different types of attractions that are aligned with those particular decades? But right now, it almost seems like they're just putting their toe in the water, just kind of feeling what the appetite is in the Las Vegas market, what the investor appetite is potentially. It doesn't feel like this has a lot of momentum behind it quite yet.
Yeah, we're at the beginning process, the kiss the frog moment, as a friend of mine would say about this investment period. I think that's why we had so much heavy AI schlop created to try and give an idea. Though I do get the feeling that the bird's eye pictures are a little bit more grounded in realism. Mm-hmm. But again, we'll need to hear. If we don't hear anything about this during our IALPA in November, then we definitely know that the investors were not as enthusiastic as the media were to this concept. And again, another one that sort of came out of Southfield for me as I was closing up the last Open and Shut. My phone was vibrating away with the announcement of Big Popular 2. So Atlanta is, looking at a $200 million theme park proposal. It doesn't really know what it wants to be. It still seems to be very early days. Don't treat any of the artists' impressions as accurate, but just as tasters. I always feel uncomfortable at this stage where, they've dropped their trousers, pardon the pun, at this point to try and reveal that they want to stick their flag in the ground and own this particular concept. But when they've got nothing really to show that is concrete, then, we have to treat this with a large bag of salt. But, here we are, we're looking at, quite a considerable investment towards building a new park. I just hope that they got a better brand than Big Popular 2 that's behind it. Though I do get the feeling that maybe they do have a large IP involved in this, but they just can't reveal it at this point in time.
Yeah, I mean, this feels like an America Heartland to me. I mean, American Heartland, the big $2 billion theme park that was proposed in Oklahoma City, in Oklahoma. This has a similar feel. Like, is this a boondoggle, or is this something that's actually going to come to fruition?
We're going to have a lot of these. The industry has proven itself to be very interesting to investments at the moment, and investors are looking for bricks and mortar to put their money into rather than bubbles. And we're going to see, I expect, during IALPA, we'll have at least another 4 new park concepts promoted in front of us. Which ones will survive? Start your betting now. One that has survived the hype phase and is now only a matter of weeks away from throwing open its doors, and that is Netflix House. And we're lucky enough, courtesy of Variety, to have transparency to the pricing model that the team at Netflix House has decided upon. Each one of the Netflix House, so we have Philadelphia and we have Dallas, and we'll have we'll have Las Vegas in 3 years' time. But each one of these facilities has a construction of 4 entertainment components and 3 hospitality, so food and booze areas with retail, as well as some other secondary repeating concepts. It's a formula that I think that they've sat down and done the maths over. We get to see the pricing, so we see that for your time on the 9-hole mini golf course, you're going to be paying 15, comparable with the market. We see that their one-piece Quest for the Devil, which is more of an escape room kind of approach, that's 39. Escape rooms are usually 45 in that neck of the woods, so comparable. And we see Wednesday's Eve of Outcast, which is a mixture of a kind of mission room and amusement products in a kind of fairground experience. That is about 39. That's the one that we can't really nail down. Is that 39 to go into the mission room experience, or is that 39 to be allowed into the whole area and to be able to play on the amusement machines that will be in free play? So there's still a lot of unknowns. The one known is, of course, our friends at Sandbox VR, because we already know their price point for their experiences, and we know that the systems are being taken lock, stock, and barrel and dropped in to the Netflix house with a little bit of change, only playing the Netflix Squid Games and Rebel Moon experiences for now, and they're going to be charging 25, which is a little lower than what you would normally pay if you went to a normal Sandbox VR. So I would say these numbers are interesting. They're not going for premium, so they're not blasting it out the park by charging super expensive compared to their competition, but they're also not going super low. So again, it's going to be based on the dwell time, on the response, and remember, prices are always flexible, and depending on what type of take-up they see to the opening of their first facility in November, they may rise those prices into the stratosphere. We will see.
Yeah. I mean, look, Philadelphia's Putt Shack. So you looked at the pricing there for a 9-hole experience at the Putt Shack in Philadelphia as well is $16. So, they've definitely done their homework. They've priced themselves within, if not just slightly below, their competition. And, I think that is interesting because they have the power of their IP. And yes, I do think that they could have priced themselves slightly above. Now, I'm not saying they should have charged for 9 holes $24, but they could have done 18 instead of 16, or instead of 15, and just squeeze a little bit more of the per cap because you're coming in and engaging with their IP. That is supposed to be, in theory, the strength of the Netflix house, or the strength of Sony's Wonderverse. We've obviously seen that, or the strength of any other IP-based venue that you're going into, is that you have the fans that are wanting to engage with the IP. It does seem like they were almost not quite as confident as they should be about their experience.
What we would say, playing it safe.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so go ahead.
No, please.
Well, I was just going to say, as we, just going to take another quick break, and then we'll come back and continue talking about our trends. Intercard is the only cashless system designed, developed, and manufactured all under one roof. They introduced cashless technology to the amusement industry and have been leading the way for over 30 years. Cashless systems from Intercard increase customer spending, guest satisfaction, and boost revenues by up to 30%. Intercard is so proud to be serving the amusement industry, and if you aren't already part of their global family of customers, they hope you will become one soon.
Thank you, Intercard. And looking now at the tech trends, and the last, I think, of the new entrants into the VR side, a Japanese company has decided to go away and create a standalone kiosk where you swipe your card, put on the head-mounted display, and can play a selection of games. The company doesn't come from the amusement sector. It is a brand new offering. And I think this is, one of those last rolls of the dice of the kiosk VR concept. I have worked very closely with a number of the companies that have tried over the years to establish a VR kiosk concept. All of them seemed to trip at the first hurdle. They all found it very difficult. They can't have attendance, they have to have it automated, they have to have the right content available, and having to depend on Joe Almighty to walk up to one of your machines, pick up a helmet and put it on and not throw it into the nearest garbage bin or jump up and down on it is a danger. This Japanese company feels that they can drop the snack VR system into retail, into tourist spaces, become the ubiquitous vending amusement product for VR. We will wait and see. Again, I get the feeling that this may disappear in a puff of smoke.
Yeah, I'm hoping that I eat my words here, but this might be the product that has absolutely zero product market fit. So it'd be interesting to see them actually get off the ground and have any real success over the near term, let alone the long term.
Yeah. Moving on, and that impact in the consumer VR sector is being felt very clearly. The media now, after the Apple announcements, after the Meta announcements, has kind of smelt what The Rock is cooking, and they've worked out that, yes, these companies are now pivoting away from virtual reality and putting all of their eggs into the basket of AR. Now, I need to be very careful here. None of the systems that Meta has shown or these other companies have shown is true augmented reality. It is not dropping visuals into the virtual environment. They're more AR light, or as the media is now trying to call them, AI smart glasses. So these are kind of replacing your smartphone for a display in your left or right eye. I am not 100% sold. The AR market is a product that we have seen demonstrated and brings something seriously impactful to the market. Just being able to have your mobile phone display in your right eye to see when messages are coming in may not be enough to lay down 800 buckaroonies for the pleasure of one of these systems and still have to walk around with a smartphone and a battery pack in your pocket. But we have to be clear. Our friends at Apple have decided to pivot, according to well-placed sources, away from their goggles spatial computing system towards building their own AR light system. Our friends at Meta have also slowed down, if not parked, their future investment into their virtual reality headsets. And there is a rumor going around that Sony also will be parking their virtual reality consumer systems. It has an impact for us in the market because we still make money from our VR products and the audience still likes playing our VR systems. So maybe we'll be the only game in town where you'll be able to experience this. And again, we need to think about that. If we have uniqueness of updating our virtual reality experiences because there's a customer base still out there, we may be the winners of this battle. And that will definitely mean that we're going to get a very nasty letter from Meta. Moving on, and those AR glasses, which are fundamentally the screen in your eye and a camera on your forehead, the backlash has started. We have seen a number of universities and retailers and even theme parks making statements that they're not going to want to have people wandering around the park constantly recording using these headsets. We had a university in San Francisco state about their concerns concerning an individual that was using his smart glasses recording capability inappropriately. And that backlash is only going to grow over the next couple of months.
Yeah, I mean, I do see this happening for the near term, and maybe it will grow, but this is an interim problem ultimately. I mean, I think as price comes down, as the technology becomes more useful and more ubiquitous, this will be less and less of an issue, and people will just feel like this is just what happens, and there will probably be I mean, I could envision some auto, shutoffs, like, I have mine broadcasting that I don't want you recording near me. And so somebody, it puts out a block that, things automatically shut down. I mean, I think there's things like that I think will eventually evolve to allow for the ubiquity of these. I don't think that Meta is going to sit back and stop moving forward on progress because there's some concerns on some college campuses or in theme parks. So I do think that this is a train that people are moving forward on. And I think, frankly, a much better use of their AI efforts, and then also of their name. We've talked about the fact that we've talked about this many times, and I've shared my vision and view on what the metaverse ultimately is was not some pure virtual environment. It really is the ubiquity of connectivity and being able to interact in multiple different ways, both with hands, both vision and other things, in order to interact with the constant connectivity that the internet provides to us, as well as then the ability to interact in a really unique and personalized way through AI. That is the true metaverse. And I think this is moving in that direction. And the more we move away from VR, to your point, is a benefit to the location-based VR industry.
Yeah, fundamentally, it is a blending of technologies to offer a seamless, immersive interaction, the phygital environment that I keep on going on about. You're quite right. Meta is going to turn around. The same way Apple will turn around to everybody who complains about the camera and go, that's a you problem. And we will have to live with it. Google Glass wasn't able to plow through the complaints. I'm sure Meta and Apple and Sony combined, as well as our friends at Google, will just make sure that these cameras come. Maybe we're going to have to stick a QR code on our foreheads to say, no photographs, please. Who knows? Moving to the AI trends, and we are seeing some real serious pushback regarding the technology. There have been some recent financial statements where banks are positioning themselves, feeling that there's going to be a reorganization, a restructuring of the value of these AI companies compared against their valuation, compared against what they're actually delivering. Our friends at Meta seem to be preparing themselves for that transition. They have changed their stipulations of their guidelines, and they are now admitting that they have greenlit the ability that if I use an AI search agent to look up something or do something, that I will then receive targeted adverts based upon that search. It is fundamentally what they do with a normal search engine. They're now just applying that mentality to Instagram and other tools through their AI. You have to take that as part of the problem. And that problem is a benefit, because our friends at Walmart have turned around and admitted that they're seeing a 20% increase in their business from those AI search generated smart agents acting on your behalf. You type into ChatGPT that you want a brand new bicycle for your 9-year-old, and ChatGPT goes off and gives you some suggestions, and surprise, surprise, one of those suggestions will be a Walmart selection. This is the name of the game.
Yeah. No, I have nothing else to say. Yeah, I'm just agreeing. Yep.
Moving on, and the other industries that are embracing AI, this is a tool. It is not going to change everything at the beginning, and it is not going to be all things to all men, but it is a tool that, if used correctly, can address productivity, can lower prices, can increase revenue. And one of those industries that sees AI as a strong tool to be used in its market is the video games industry. Why have a room full of 20 graphic artists when you can have 5 graphic artists monitoring AI smart design tools? And so we're hearing now that about half of the Japanese video games industry is utilizing generative AI tools. And we're even seeing our friends at Netflix, for their game division, looking to hire AI roustabout for their application.
Yeah, I mean, this is not surprising, and something we're just going to have to get used to. Already, even on my team at IntelliPlay, our team is using AI to help assist them in their development. They're phenomenal developers, but this just helps increase productivity. And so, yeah, I think this is just a matter of time before this is ubiquitous across the board.
We can't be Luddites about this. We can't stick our head in in the ground and hope it will go away. We have to use this tool, and as many of our readers of the Stinger Report and the entertainment social arena knows, that last year I have embraced the utilization of the tool to help speed up the process of creating a brief of what we have in the coverage. It doesn't mean it writes the coverage. That is still human beings, but it is a tool helping us the same way that the word processor made it easy for me to stop having to go through typewriter ribbon.
Mm-hmm.
The dangers of autonomy, well, really, it's not the dangers of the technology, but it is more the human beings improperly using the technology. Something that I wasn't familiar with is something called pyrodromes. These are in China and in India, people tying fireworks to be launched from aerial drone systems. So you get a aerial drone display, which is also augmented with fireworks. Well, sometimes it doesn't go well, and due to various programming errors and ignitions, the pyro drones started falling from the sky on fire while also launching their pyrotechnics. We still haven't received official word from the Chinese regional government there how many people were injured during this process. And we noticed that a number of the video footage of this quite horrific sequence, people having to use chairs to protect themselves from falling drones and the fires that this caused, have started to disappear off of the web. So I think this was a black eye that the regional government doesn't want to go into much more detail. But again, this is not something that the Western market will see, I hope. But again, most smart money makes sure that the drone display takes place not above the heads of the audience, but a distance away from the audience. But again, an interesting observation of the future problems that we're now living with. Moving on to talking points quickly, and I was away at the Brand Licensing Expo in Britain, in London. This is the second of the largest licensing and brand shows that take place of the year. The big one in Las Vegas, Licensing Expo, we usually attend, and it was nice to be able to have a chance to walk around brand licensing, to have a look at some of the trends that are shaping the market, because our legacy brand, as I said earlier, has quite a part to play in this sector. The big news, obviously, was further developments in the Paramount and Warner Brothers merger. From the organizers of the show, they must be unhappy because they're going to be losing one booth and having to deal with one big booth. So maybe they win all around. I was interested that our friends at Paramount held a very high-level presentation for the attendees of the show, where they wanted us all to sign NDAs before we went into the presentation. I'm sorry, guys, I don't sign NDAs without being able to give them a good read, and so I had to pass on that. But from all the people who broke their NDAs were telling me that it was more about the positioning of the Paramount brand, looking forward towards their future perspective and the combining and merging of their operation, even before they admit to the laborious process that the Warner Brothers acquisition will take. Because the Warner Brothers acquisition, even if it's green lit by the investors and by the boards, will take a period of months to actually be resolved through the various government bodies. Jumping on, and it was clear that toys, brands, and video games were all front and center as important tools in investment. Mattel and Hasbro and Lego all had very big showings at the event, and they all had crossover products. Our friends from Hasbro, of course, and Mattel also have bricks and mortar facilities that utilize their entertainment, that are franchised. And it was interesting to kind of be able to speak to these people and have them understand the location-based entertainment industry as a viable component to their transmedia operations. Of course, the video games industry was there in numbers, and the video games industry was living off the laurels of its arcade roots, its legacy, as it were. along with pushing the ubiquitous Puckman and Sonic, there was also the pushing of the arcade cabinets and the stylizations, the trendiness of the retro, as it were, going forwards. Video game side is big now. The Capcoms, the Konamis, and the Ubisofts at the shows. And all of these operations are also revealing that they're looking at bricks and mortar representation, either through licensing their products into amusement, as our friends at Ubisoft have done, or through their own amusement operation facilities and entertainment facilities that Capcom has done. So again, our industry is at these shows, but sometimes it is others wearing the clothing that our industry represents. One of the big surprises was our friends at Unis was at the show. The emoji booth was promoting their brand, and they had a number of examples of the emoji amusement machines there. Our friend Stephen Tam from Unis was there, had a chance to chat. Very important. Remember, they also have the Emoji Planets arcade facility. First one opened in in Brighton or Blackpool. I can't remember which. I think it was Blackpool. And the others are opening up in the US in a short order. Again, helped by our friends in Genda, Americas. But here, this was raising a lot of eyebrows from individuals because they were kind of seeing the opportunity of how a brand could then be parachuted into to create instant revenue generation, not just through the Emoji Planet facilities, but also through the amusement machine systems. I wouldn't be surprised at License Expo next year that we don't see a lot more amusement components on the show floor. Let's hope it's us in the amusement industry driving it rather than the franchisors just using them as examples of promotion. And then the ubiquity of the traditional amusement. We have there the picture of the micro amusement machines. These are miniature recreations, perfect recreations of retro arcade classics, your Space Invaders, your Defender machines. Nice quarter scale miniatures, even miniatures of Coke machines and coin vending machines for the man that wants to create his own personal arcade and doesn't want the big boxiness of the one-up machines. The kidult in us all can now have their own arcade machines. These setups actually come with miniature rubbish bins and stools and fire extinguishers. It gets out of control. Dolls' houses for men. I didn't say that to the guys there. It was also interesting that the organizers of the show filled the dead space around the exhibition hall with amusement machines to push that branding and that edginess and that image. Tells us a lot about where amusement fits as a supportive product and brand, a soft brand that can be incorporated into the mix. And then finally, the one takeaway for me, the new trends that are coming is the competitive sports. Branding and licensing always has a strong representation from NASCAR and from F1 and from the soccer teams and the football teams. But it is clear now that the apparel industry and the sporting industry wants to have their brand front and center. The esports racing simulator side of the business, even to the entertainment active side. And I couldn't get away from it. We even had pickleball on the show floor. As one of the apparel companies wanted to promote the clothing brands that they are selling into the sports and activity sector. Any comments there, Brandon?
I'd like that you paused there after you talked about pickleball, knowing that you're just waiting, you're baiting me with pickleball at the last slide.
I wouldn't bet you. No, I wouldn't do that. I walked past the pickleball, cast my eyes down, took the photo, and kept on walking. Yeah. Whatever floats their boats. It was more important to me the importance of the transmedia nature of entertainment. Mm-hmm. I'm just wondering how long it's going to be before the members of our trade industries wake up to this and actually have space on these show floors.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, anyway, that's it from me. Lots to go through here. Please keep up. We have a flood of stinger reports coming out at the moment with the build up towards IALPA. We also have some interesting developments being charted by the entertainment social arena, talking about some new developments in competitive socializing, and also the fallout from our recent visits to a number of openings. And if you have any questions, or if you have any more news that you'd like to pass our way, our email information is all there.
Perfect. All right, Kevin. Well, another great sound off, and we will see you on the next one.
See you later.